One thing I want to point out is that I'm Jax Crider and I've spent more than 2 decades in the mortgage and the financial space. I have a law degree and I've helped women make decisions involving homes, debt, income, children, divorce, and major life transition for my entire career. It is literally my lifeblood. But I've also been the woman whose life did not look on the inside the way that it looked from the outside, because I have lived through emotional and financial abuse, and unfortunately even a little physical abuse. I have been divorced. I know what it feels like to be intelligent, hardworking, outwardly capable, while privately questioning every single decision and whether you can trust your own read on what's actually happening. And today, this is not a lecture from somebody who's standing safely on the other side, pointing backwards and trying to tell you what you should have or should do. This is a conversation for somebody who understands how power gets outsourced, how self-trust gets eroded, how slowly, sometimes painfully slowly, you learn to hear yourself again. Welcome back to another episode of Financial Mastery Simplified. I am your host, Jax Crider. Today I had something on my heart that I just wanted to talk about where, there is this moment that happens to so many women and a lot of people just don't talk about it. And so a lot of times, they're sitting at a table, stack of papers in front of you. Maybe it's bank statements or mortgage statement. It could be a proposed divorce settlement, a list of bills, an email from an attorney that you've already read 4 different times. And the question that's in front of you is actually not that complicated, but you are struggling to answer it. And it's not because you're unintelligent or even that you're incapable. It isn't even that you're bad with money. You can't answer it because somewhere along the way, you stopped trusting yourself to know what was right for you. And that realization can be incredibly terrifying because it's one thing to realize that you don't understand a financial document. That part can be taught, right? It's another thing to realize you no longer believe yourself when you make a decision. And that's a conversation that we're going to have today. So this podcast obviously is built off of making money simpler, more human, and aligned with a life that you actually want to live. And so one thing I want to point out is that I'm Jax Crider and I've spent more than 2 decades in the mortgage and the financial space. I have a law degree and I've helped women make decisions involving homes, debt, income, children, divorce, and major life transition for my entire career. It is literally my lifeblood. But I've also been the woman whose life did not look on the inside the way that it looked from the outside, because I have lived through emotional and financial abuse, and unfortunately even a little physical abuse. I have been divorced. I know what it feels like to be intelligent, hardworking, outwardly capable, while privately questioning every single decision and whether you can trust your own read on what's actually happening. And today, this is not a lecture from somebody who's standing safely on the other side, pointing backwards and trying to tell you what you should have or should do. This is a conversation for somebody who understands how power gets outsourced, how self-trust gets eroded, how slowly, sometimes painfully slowly, you learn to hear yourself again. And it doesn't happen all at once, because just like the way that you're not going to have a rock fall out of the sky and just like hit you and that's it. Because just like that rock's not going to fall out of the sky, you don't wake up one day and announce, today I just want to give away my financial power. It happens, but it happens in a tiny, reasonable looking decisions over the course of time. He knows more about investing, so he handles all of that. He's really better with the spreadsheets, so he pays the bills. He earns more, so his opinion carries more weight. And so you're handling the children and the calendar, the appointments, emotional temperature of the household, the groceries, maybe, the school forms, birthday gifts, all of these kind of seemingly invisible things that nobody really remembers until they don't actually happen. And so dividing responsibilities, it's not inherently unhealthy. Okay. In a strong relationship, division of labor is really efficient and even really loving. So I'm not saying that decision, like the start of it, is on its face a bad one, because there's nothing wrong with staying in a relationship where 2 people are committed to equality. There's nothing wrong with letting your spouse take the lead in an area. Maybe they have more skill, as long as you still have access, information, voice, and choice. You gotta have all of those. So the problem is not that someone else handled a task. That's not the issue here. The problem is when handling the task turns in to holding all of that power. The problem is when you're asking a question and it creates this kind of tension, uncomfortableness. And when you want to see an account and it sort of feels like an accusation, when you're starting to be told, you just wouldn't understand. When every money disagreement ends with evidence that maybe you're too emotional or impulsive, too naive, you're just too difficult. Somehow you're not qualified to participate in your own life. And it starts slow. First you argue about it, and then you try to explain why you want the information. Then maybe you try to ask the question again, but like in a softer, more demure tone to kind of make it land easier. Then maybe you start waiting for a better time. Like maybe this is not the moment. And eventually you may just stop asking. And it's not because the question stopped mattering. It's because of the emotional cost of asking just became way too high. It just really wasn't worth it. And it's how really capable women can slowly disappear from their own financial lives. And so there's this story that we tell ourselves, and the story often becomes something like this: I'm just not good with money. And I want you to notice how broad and blanket that statement and that sentence is. Because maybe you don't understand how an escrow account works or your life insurance or whatever. That doesn't mean that you're bad with money. Maybe you've never chosen an investment account. But it just means that like you haven't learned the skill yet. Not that you can't learn or understand it. And maybe your spouse paid the bills for 15 years. And that means that you just had experience in other areas and other parts. Maybe numbers make you freeze because every conversation about money in your home became really emotionally dangerous. And that's not a math problem. It's your nervous system that's actually trying to protect you. And so we take a specific gap in knowledge and we turn it into this verdict about our identity. I do not know this becomes I can't know this. I've not done this becomes I'm incapable of doing this. I made a mistake becomes I can't trust myself. Those aren't the same statements, guys. There's a coach that I had a long time ago, and they said the story you tell yourself the most is the story you believe the most. And the story you believe the most is the one that you tell yourself the most. And if you've been telling yourself this story, we've got to break this. So if you're in the middle of a separation, you're thinking about divorce, you're rebuilding after one, maybe you're just trying to rebuild your relationship, see if you can do that. These distinctions, they matter a lot more than you realize because you're going to be asked to make decisions. Some are going to be legal and some financial. Some are going to be about the house, maybe about the kids. Some are going to be about what you can afford. Some are going to be about what you're no longer willing to pay for your peace. You don't need to become an expert in everything. That's not the lesson here. But you do need to stop treating a gap in information as proof that somebody else should be the one that decides your future. And in what I've done for a living over the course of this last 20 plus years, I have sat across from so many women. These are extraordinary and accomplished women. They lead teams and they run businesses, negotiate contracts. They advocate fiercely for their children. They are the person everybody else calls when life goes sideways. And then we begin to talk about mortgage. And their whole energy just shifts. Their shoulders kind of pull in, voice kind of lowers, gets quieter. They would start prefacing questions, right? Qualifying questions like, this is probably a stupid question, but... And so I remember one woman, and I'm changing the details just a little bit to protect her own privacy. She spent years believing that she couldn't manage the house without her husband. She didn't actually know whether that was true. That was just a story she was telling herself. The story that maybe he had told her as well. And what she knew was that, again, he said it so often, it just felt like a fact to her. And so she had this number in her head that represented what she thought she could afford. Another number that had what represented what she thought she could qualify for. But neither number came from like a complete analysis, not by an expert, All this came from like fragments of conversations and fear and assumptions. When we finally slowed it all down, the point was not to convince her to keep the house. So I need you to hear that. Because empowerment is not keeping the house at any cost. It's also not selling to prove that you can walk away. Empowerment is about having accurate information, understanding what the trade offs are, and making a choice that actually belongs to you. Because her options were not unlimited. Usually, very few people's options are actually unlimited, but she did have a lot more choices than she had ever been led to believe. And I watched her face change when she started understanding that. And it wasn't excitement about a loan product, it was just simply relief. It was return, a possibility, hope. It was a moment that she realized I'm not trapped inside someone else's version of what I can handle. And this is why I do this work. Because the mortgage is often the practical question, but underneath it, it is so much deeper. Can I build a life I trust myself to lead? Because high achieving women, they often respond to uncertainty by collecting more information. So we do the responsible thing. We research, we've opened 17 browser tabs, we've listened to 4,000 podcasts, we've downloaded checklists, we've asked friends, we've joined groups, we've read every comment under every post under the sun. And please don't misunderstand me, because I am somebody who loves information. Information can absolutely be useful, but information is not the same thing as clarity. Because sometimes collecting more information is simply a more socially acceptable form of avoiding a decision. Ask this girl how she knows. So if I can learn one more thing, maybe I will feel more certainty. If I ask just one more person, maybe somebody will give me an answer that removes all of the risk. Spoiler alert, you can never remove all risk out of anything in life. If I find a woman whose situation looks exactly like mine, maybe her decision can now become my decision. But there is no stranger on the internet whose life is exactly like yours. You are unique, and you lead a completely unique life. So the person telling you never leave the house may have a completely different income, debt load, custody agreement, interest rate, credit profile, timeline, and emotional reality. And the person telling you sell it, start fresh, duh. They don't have to wake up in your body, parent your children, or live with the long-term consequences of that choice. Advice can give you questions to ask. It should not automatically get your vote. So let's talk for a minute about some ways that we outsource our power. 3 specifically that I see a lot and I want to speak to them. There are the 3 patterns, and the first is outsourcing of facts. There are facts you should absolutely get from qualified people, experts. You should not be guessing about your legal rights, tax consequences, underwriting guidelines, title, credit, terms of a settlement. No. You must get expert information, and that is not giving away your power. The key is that an expert should help you understand your options and what the ramifications could be. They should not make you feel smaller so that you're just going to obey, and they should not be making the decision for you. They should be giving you choices, educated information, and empowering you to make the choice.
Stay tuned. We'll be back right after this message from our sponsors.
Imagine having the power to control your financial destiny, no matter where you start. Welcome to the Financial Mastery Simplified course and resource platform, where financial education is tailored to your unique journey. We cover everything you need, from basic budgeting and saving strategies to advanced investing and retirement planning. Learn at your own pace with lessons that match your level of experience. Whether you're a beginner or looking to enhance your financial knowledge, join our community of learners and benefit from shared insights and expert guidance. The Financial Mastery Simplified course and resource platform equips you with the skills and confidence to take charge of your financial future. Ready to master your finances? Enroll in our courses today at the Financial Mastery Simplified course and resource platform. Start your path to financial independence now.
Visit us at fms.tips and fms.college for more information.
Hello and welcome to PBJ Mortgage, where your home ownership dreams become reality. Today, we want to share why choosing PBJ Mortgage is the right choice for your home financing needs. At PBJ Mortgage, we're built on a foundation of values that drive us every day. Our commitment to educate, empathize, and empower our clients sets us apart in the mortgage industry. Our clients are at the heart of everything we do, and their success stories speak volumes. With years of experience, our team possesses in-depth knowledge of the mortgage programs, ensuring you receive expert guidance and the best possible rates. We offer a diverse range of loan options to suit your unique needs, including conventional, FHA, VA, and more. No matter your situation, we've got a solution. At PBJ Mortgage, we pride ourselves on providing personalized service. Our dedicated loan officers are here to guide you every step of the way, making the process as smooth as making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. We understand that time is of the essence, which is why we've streamlined our processes for efficiency and convenience. Transparency and clear communication are paramount. You'll always know where you stand throughout your mortgage journey. Reach out to us today to set up a call to discover your options. If you're ready to make your home ownership dreams a reality, contact PBJ Mortgage today. Let us empower you during this exciting journey. Phone number 4693733-107 www.pbjteam.com. Visit our website or give us a call to get started. We look forward to helping you secure your future home. PBJ Mortgage, where home begins.
Thanks for your patience.
The second is outsourcing judgment. This sounds a lot like, just tell me what to do. And I understand why we say it. Decision fatigue is real, especially in this day and age when we basically are making a billion, answers every day, a billion questions. We're having to answer them every day. It's freaking exhausting. And so when your marriage, your home, your identity, your schedule, and financial life may be changing literally all at once, having someone simply issue a command can absolutely feel like relief. Like, dude, just tell me what to do. And trust me when I say there are moments I'm right there with you. But understand that temporary relief can create long-term resentment if the decision was never truly yours. A good advisor, a true expert, can make a recommendation. They can say, based on what you told me, this is an option that appears to support your goals better. Here's why. Or here's a couple of options. But your values, your tolerances, and your priorities, they still matter because they're yours. The third is outsourcing permission. This one is a lot more subtle. You know what you want, but you do not feel allowed to want it until somebody agrees with you, until you have what I like to call the echo chamber. Somebody saying, yes, your decision is solid. This is a good choice. So you might want to sell your house, but you need someone to certify that you are not failing your children if you make that decision. You want to keep the house, but you need someone to assure you that you're not being emotional. You want a smaller life with more breathing room, but you need someone to tell you that choosing peace is not the same as giving up. You want more, but you're afraid wanting more makes you selfish. And support is a beautiful thing. And thank goodness we as women are coming together in groups and supporting one another. Not everybody, but a lot more than I have seen in the past. But you do not need a jury to approve the life that you are building. And so let's talk a little bit about my own reckoning with self-trust. Because one of the hardest parts of living through emotional and financial abuse was not simply what happened in the relationship. It was what happened that went on inside of me. When your reality is questioned often enough, you also begin to question it. When it is constant gaslighting, not directly telling you that you're stupid or directly saying, why in the hell would you make that choice? It's when they say things like, that really doesn't make any sense. Why in the world would we do that? Right? And not in like a questioning, supportive kind of way, but in a you're stupid without saying you're stupid kind of way. You know the one. So you could be really smart and you could still think like, am I overreacting? Did I not know that? And you literally can have evidence and you still wonder, right? Like whether you're being unfair or being unreasonable. And you can know something feels wrong. Like in your gut, you just know. And you spend months trying to build a courtroom level case before you allow yourself to honor that feeling. And trust me when I say my law degree did not immunize me from that. My experiences did not immunize me from that. Being strong and a very direct, confident woman did not immunize me from that. And in some ways, being strong can keep us stuck longer because we're so practiced at carrying out hard things. So we think endurance is evidence of alignment. And we think because we can survive something that we should just continue surviving it. And we think that leaving and changing, questioning, or asking for help means that we failed somehow to hold it all together. Trust me, I was very, very afraid to ask questions because I thought this really makes me seem incapable. But holding everything together, that is not the goal. Sometimes the goal is to stop abandoning yourself in order to preserve the appearance of stability. And I had to learn that self-trust does not come back as one grand fearless decision. It comes back as small acts of self-loyalty. So I asked questions even when I didn't feel capable. I admitted when I didn't know something, and I worked really hard not to turn that into shame, self-loathing. I paid attention when something felt wrong or off for me. I stopped requiring everyone else to agree with me before I took myself seriously. And sometimes I made a decision, I learned from it, and I simply adjusted. I gave myself permission to not do everything perfectly. Self-trust is not the belief that you're never going to make a mistake. I get it. I am the quintessential perfectionist. It's a belief that you will not abandon yourself when you do. And so if you're listening and you're thinking, that's me, I just don't trust myself anymore, I want to give you a place to begin. So, step 1, separate what you know from what you assume, from what you fear. So, take a piece of paper and make 3 columns. In the first column, you're going to write only verified facts. Facts. Facts alone. Non-emotional. Facts. My income is X. My mortgage balance is X. The account is titled in this way. The payment is X. The deadline is X. And the second, you're going to write down your assumptions. I don't think I can qualify. I think that the children need this house. I assume that selling means failure. I assume he knows more than I do. I assume no one will lend to me until the divorce is final. Whatever these are. And third, I want you to write your fears. Be honest. I'm afraid I will make the wrong decision. I'm afraid my children will blame me. I'm afraid I will not be okay. I'm afraid I waited too long. I'm afraid everyone will find out that I do not have this figured out. Whatever they are, in the comfort of your own space, write them down. Because facts deserve verification and assumptions deserve investigation to figure out if they're actually true. And that fear, it deserves compassion. But they should not all be treated as the same thing. Now, step 2, identify whose voice you're hearing. When your mind says, you can't handle this, ask, is that my conclusion? Or is that something I've heard repeatedly? Doesn't necessarily have to be this relationship you may be exiting. Could possibly be the voice of a parent, a school teacher, somebody in your past that started this echo inside of your own head. When your mind says a good mother would keep the house, who wrote that rule? Who made that decision? When your mind says, I should know this already, ask whether shame is keeping you from learning. And finally, step 3, get the right information from the right source. Your attorney answers legal questions. Your tax expert answers tax questions. A qualified mortgage expert can help you understand financing, housing scenarios. A financial advisor, financial expert may help you with the longer-term financial trade-offs of some of the decisions you're looking to make. A therapist can help you process the fear, grief, coercion, emotional patterns that are showing up in these decisions. One person does not have to be everything. And then your friends, they can just be your friends. They can love you. They can sit beside you. They can bring you dinner. They can let you cry, remind you who you are, and still not be the right people to design your mortgage or interpret your divorce agreement. Step 4, make one decision you can keep. Not 10, not 20, not 3, 1. Maybe your decision is that by Friday, you're going to download every bank statement that you can get access to. Maybe it's that you will schedule one conversation with a qualified person. Maybe it's that you're going to stop discussing your housing decisions in the group chat for 7 days so you can just hear your own thoughts. Maybe it's that you will ask to see the numbers instead of accepting a conclusion. Every promise you make to yourself and keep becomes evidence. Evidence that you show up for yourself and that you can learn. Evidence that you can tolerate uncertainty without handing your future away. And so what I need to ensure that you remember is that you are not behind because you are learning now. You're not stupid because somebody else happened to handle the money. You're not weak because emotional pressure affected you. That makes you human. And you're not irresponsible because you're scared. You do not have to have your entire divorce figured out before you begin protecting yourself financially. You only need enough courage for the next honest question. That's it. Then the next verified fact, and then the next decision that belongs to you and you alone. Your power may have been outsourced slowly, and you can reclaim it in the exact same way. Choice by choice, question by question, promise by promise. If you are facing divorce, considering it, or trying to understand what needs to happen financially before anything is final, I created the Divorce Financial Setup Checklist for you. It's not designed to tell you what decision to make. It's designed to help you gather the right information, to see what needs attention, and walk into your next conversations with better questions and more clarity. You can find the link in the show notes. You can download it, take it one section at a time. You don't have to complete your whole future in one evening, okay? And if this episode made you think of a woman who's been quietly doubting herself, send this to her. She may not be ready to comment on a public post. She may not be ready to tell the whole story, but she does deserve to know that losing touch with her power does not mean that it's gone. It's still right there, and it's still hers. Hopefully this episode of Financial Mastery Simplified was helpful for you. Financial mastery, again, it's not knowing everything. It's knowing enough to ask better questions, making aligned decisions, and building a life that is on your terms. That's it. We'll see you again next time on another episode of Financial Mastery Simplified.